So it may be a missed bus opportunity. So in my opinion, it is always feasible. Last 3 times I presented at Rajahmundry, Vijayawada, Guntur, Kakinada, at different places, even in our Eluru chambers. It was my 78 or 79th seminar, both offline and offline. I always ask the management committee whether they are conducting GSTR 9 seminars in the month of November or in the month of December. Last year, most of the places conducted GSTR 9 filings only in the month of December. So, rather it's a postmortem opportunity because by the time November 30th is over, there are a lot of key considerations and requirements which you are required to take into account in the month of October. That is GSTR 3Bs of October to be filed in November. While I'm in travel from my hometown Eluru to Vijayawada, in one of the groups I just got this image. I felt it's apt to share with you before I start GSTR 9. What is the expectation from us or from the stakeholders in the GST, and what is the GST reality happen? I think for the last couple of months, you witnessed that there were plethora of notifications uh, and rush of circulars, clarifications, effective dates for implementing the provisions which were forced in the budget, as well as council meetings, recent council meetings. And there were a lot of debates happening. You know that, for example, let us take, this is the tax audit, in this tax audit season is the most burning audit season, because while we are conducting tax audits, they are issuing notifications left and right. And from October 10th, reverse charge notification was enforced. Just by looking at that particular notification, I'm getting a lot of queries and confusions. Still awaiting clarity from the government. If you read the notification of reverse charge is applicable in respect of rent payments, commercial rents. Unfortunately, that is the key word which is missing in the notification. Any renter, okay, paid to a unregistered landlord, they even not use that unregistered person, of any property is subject to RCM. Now you tell me, had they used the word immobile property? No. Had they used the word commercial immobile property? No. Already residential properties, if you have taken from an unregistered person or a registered person, if the residential property is used for business purposes, other than the purpose for which the proprietor is occupying it as a residence, it is already subject to RCM from 18/7/2022. Now, commercial property also brought under RCM. But if you look at the wording of the notification, renting of any property, the term used is any property. Now you tell me you have taken a generator, you are running a banking financial, non-banking financial institution, or you are running a commercial entity where you have not bought the generator, you have rented the generator, rented out the generator. You have taken the generator on rent. Is rent a property? No, I'll rephrase my question. Is rent an immobile property? Sorry, is a generator an immobile property? Generator is not an immobile property. But do you convince that the generator is included in the definition of property? It's a property. It may not be an immobile property. Okay? But property includes both movable and immobile. In my opinion, if we strictly interpret the process of RCM notification with effect from 10th October 2024, any rent paid to an unregistered owner of any property, tangible, intangible, movable, immovable, everything is covered under RCM notification. So make sure that it's not pertaining only to commercial land or commercial property, because the word is missing in the notification. They have not even yet given any circular. My doubt is, had they mistakenly or by oversight given this notification, or was their real intention to bring every rent of any property under RCM? See, they at the time of starting of if you look at this image on the left side, they implemented RCM notification under 9.4 per day 5,000, which was a cumbersome task and a burning issue for the industries. Everybody raised their voice, like MSME, payment to MSME. Everybody raised their voice, and they finally got it lifted with effect from 13th October 2017. So now the question is, again they are bringing every transaction under the ambit of RCM by issuing or identifying transaction by transaction. Now, if you look at the rentals, suddenly if a client comes to you, either as a landlord or as a tenant, and if they ask you, sir, whether my rent is subject to GST, question is very simple, answer is very difficult. Which kind of rent? Who is the tenant? Are you registered? Is the tenant registered? Is the rent agreement registered? Is it in respect of a commercial property or residential property? Whether the residential property is used for residential purpose or commercial purpose. And I cannot expect a commercial property used for residential purpose. So anyways, plethora of notifications, plethora of circulars, clarifications, adding lot of confusion. By the time you look at the notifications and complete this tax audit season, they're again bringing another change by change. They only revised 3B. They only introduced invoice management system. Now you tell me what is the purpose of 4B1, 4B2? When you say don't bring all invoices into 3B, there is the question of availing all the ITC and reversing in 4B1, 4B2. Why you have introduced 4B1 ledger, 4B2 ledger? Again, they have introduced RCM ledger. Again, you have introduced RCM ledger. You have introduced 4B1, 4B2. Again, you are saying that every invoice has to go through IMS. So, a lot of so the reality is on the right side, not my right side, your right side. Anyway, sir, this is also my right side. GST reality is completely different. I do has to agree with this image. There is no exception to this image. Every clarification, see why so many clarifications? The word clarification itself, that something ambiguity is there. Otherwise, why clarification is required? There were a lot of clarificatory circulars. There were a lot of press releases. You know, one burning issue. Since I am in Eluru, which is nearer to Bhimar, most of the fish tanks are being cultivated in Bhimar. You are aware of that. Still, whether a fish tank lease income is an agriculture income, because livestock is included in agriculture. What is agriculture in income tax may not be agriculture in GST. GST agriculture is much broader than income tax agriculture. Agriculture under the Income Tax Act. But they have given a press release saying that it is not taxable. It is also pisciculture, it is also relating to agriculture activity. But whether press release overrides act, whether press release gives a sanctity, immunity, see, there are a lot of issues. Before going into why I am touching on these issues is, you have to be in touch with certain terminology before I touch annual return. I just want to bring to your attention that everybody here try to involve with me, and if you have any query or if you want to discuss without disturbing my rhythm, definitely we will discuss. Let's the session be interactive. Since the strength is very limited, it is convenient for the faculty to be interactive. If the strength is more, it's not possible. So it's an opportunity for the attendees. If the strength is less, it's a wonderful opportunity to you because to get interactive. In a very limited session, very limited strength of a session, I attended a session of Jatin Christopher, sir. Since the strength is very less, I involved more. I asked more questions, and I was closely associated with Jatin Christopher, sir. Now, if I am having any doubt, sometimes Jatin Christopher, sir, is making calls to me. If I ask a doubt, and he doesn't want to, Jatin Christopher, sir, is, you know, that is the topmost GST expert in India. He doesn't like much typing in WhatsApp. So he wants to elaborate an explanation. He will directly make a call to me. So it's wonderful opportunity if the strength is limited. Please use this opportunity. We all have strong deadlines, heavy work pressure. Despite that, you attended this. Before leaving this session, we must have some value addition. Otherwise, there is no meaning in attending any seminar. Yes, sir. Unfortunately, it is 18% even for the composite person. No. 6% is only for those who opted for 6% composite scheme where the total turnover does not exceed 50 lakhs. That is exclusively composite scheme for the service providers. Composite scheme doesn't allow you to render services. Exception is 5 lakhs. 10% of turnover or 5 lakhs, whichever is higher, you can have composite scheme. But unfortunately, in the month of October, people are of the some of the opinion that it is rent is subject to 6% RCM. Sir, actually, suppose a composite person is there, he is receiving inward supplies from GTA. At what percentage you are discharging the tax liability? 5% RCM. Unless the GTA operator opts for forward charge mechanism, it is subject to 5% RCM. No? Rent is at what rate? Since freight is at 5%, we are paying 5%. Rent is at 18%, we are required to pay 18%. So all the rents for the composite dealers in respect of shops and establishments, commercial properties, straight away incremented by 20% with effect from 10th October, it is an added cost to the P&L account because they do not have any input tax credit. Similarly, there are a lot of operators like builders. If they have rented out a commercial place like this, apartment builders, let's say, do they have input tax credit eligibility? No, unless you are a works contract, that's a different issue. So for them also, office rent plus 18%. They have to pay RCM, but input credit is not available. Hope you understand. So with effect from October, straight away, rent increases by 18% without rent increment. Government incremented it. 6% sir, owners may not listen to you because for saving the tenant, owners may not listen to you. Why unnecessary? See, if they have taken that registration, all their taxable supplies, all their supplies may become taxable. So owners may not listen to you. It's a big tough task, sir, because from October 31st onwards, you are required to raise the invoice, self-invoice. Now, no more questions of self-invoice can be raised lifetime. Or for 17, 18, I will raise invoice now and I will pay GST and I will take the credit. No, see, 16.4 is not applicable. All those stories gone. They have issued time of supply, 30 days. They have issued much prominence to 31, Rule 31 3F, self-invoice in respect of supplies from unregistered person. You are required to raise the invoice and you are required to pay it and avail it in the month, in the same month in which the tax is paid. Yes, all hotels, sir, because most of the hotels, as you rightly said, they operate like asset-light model, which means they only rented the premises instead of constructing a hotel. All these small idli dosa stalls, they only taken rent for 60,000, 50,000 per month, and they run the hotels. They do not have input tax credit. Straight away, their supplies are taxable at 5% unless the hotel is attached to a room rent where it is more than 7,500 tariff. Not like that. All general small hotels also will be hit by this provision. Before we move on to the presentation on GSTR 9, let me introduce some concepts. Let us be familiar with certain terminology which I use in presenting the paper on GSTR 9 so that it will be useful to you to understand the nuances. You know that GSTR 2A, it is very important document, unfortunately lost its significance. 2B replaces 2A. They don't like C, I think. 2C has not seen the light. They directly go to IMS. Anyways, you know also 2B. What is the significant difference, sir? Can you please put in one line? What is the significant difference between 2A and 2B? Yes, wonderful answer. 2A is dynamic, 2B is static. This is the biggest problem because if the supplier does not file by 11th, it will not be reflected in the month of corresponding month in which we need to claim the ITC. We generally tend to make a call by even by 9 o'clock. See, 9th 9 o'clock or 10th 9 o'clock also they will come. Aram say they will say, we will file by 11, don't worry. But they will file only on 12th. So, 2B is a kind of a one-side love story. You only propose. The other party, even they will not even reject or they will not even accept. Silence is the answer. They say, I will file, don't worry. See, if you propose, either you have to get an answer in the form of acceptance or rejection. But they will keep on pending like a pending invoice in IMS. So what happens is they will say, but they don't eventually, they don't file by 11 o'clock. See, 11, sometimes we do even make our suppliers, our clients do make calls to suppliers at 11 o'clock of 11th, saying that, sir, this is still in the saved form, or you have not filed anything. I may not be able to get the credit because my auditor doesn't give the credit even if it is reflected in 2A because it is not reflected in 2B. Okay. See, from 2A to 2B, do you feel the life becomes complicated or simple? Calculation becomes simple for the department because by 11th it freezes, but it's a nightmare for the suppliers. I don't understand the invoice, which is what is the difference between a credit which is lying in 2A but not lying in 2B, still available till 20th. My supplier filed on 12th. Okay, to be generated on 14th. To be generated on 14th. I filed my return on 20th. Whole world, including department, knows that it is available. Tax is paid. My supplier filed on 19th. My supplier filed 11. See, GSTR 1 on 12th. Filed 3B also on 19th. Paid all the taxes. Department received the money. It is there in the document. Stock received, I also sold. I raised my invoice. I filed my GSTR 1 on 11th. It is there in 2A. It is not there in 2B. It is there in the next month. Pretty sure it will be there in the next month 2B because he filed. But still, the sin is it is not eligible. Then what is the purpose of time limit given up to 20th? If we ask a question, they brought IMS. So better don't ask any questions. If you ask a question, definitely they will in 2 years. I'm sure that you will understand IMS in 2 years. By the time you reach confidence, it will change. So when they have an agenda of bringing IMS in their mind, it will not happen overnight. Then what is the necessity of revising 3B and bringing circular 170 and asking you to make a difference of permanent reversal, temporary reversal? And the invoice itself is to be marked with accept, pending, reject. Why the classification of permanent reversal, temporary reversal, asking you to revise your 3Bs? And it has survived only for 2 years. 22 it came, the circular came, survived only 2 years. Next year, what will happen? Nobody knows. All registered persons under the GST must buy GST 9 as per section 44, read with rule 80, sub rule 1 of CGST rules. You are very Pretty much aware of that, but the problem is I am not going to touch all the notifications which are given by the government to whom the 9 is applicable, to whom 9C is applicable. At a glance, we will go through it and we will directly jump into the tables. But the issue is, one more thing I want to bring to your notice. GSTR 9 duly amended, GSTR 3B duly amended. Okay. You have seen 2A and 2B, you identified the difference. And what is the latest change in 3B? Anybody, can you please identify what is the latest change that has recently happened in 3B? Table number 3.151. Best example is Swiggy and Zomato, supplies through aggregators. The supplies through aggregators are not required to be reported or not mandated to be reported in 3.1. Now they have a separate place 3.1.1. If you are an aggregator, clause 1 is applicable. If you are a supplier like a hotel who is supplying the food through Swiggy and Zomato, clause 2 is applicable to you. Look at the slide. Clause 2, 3.1.1. Taxable supplies made by the registered person through e-commerce operator on which electronic commerce operator is required to pay tax under subsection 5 of 9. Slide. No, I have changed. It's technical problem. I'm just not looking at the window. That's the reason I'm unable to.
The owners of immovable property obtain registration under composite supply if their total rents are below 50 lakhs.
Yes, sir. Any service you can take for rent is not listed in any exception. You can opt for it. But the problem is if you opt for 6% scheme, the owner of that particular removable property, even though their total rent is below 50 lakhs, they will not be able to charge rent from any customer. 6% is not chargeable. It has to be paid out of pocket.
Okay. It is paid
If he is ready to pay out of his pocket by increasing rent by 10%, then may not be a problem.
any other income to claim this as input.
Okay.
What is the use? He can go for 6%.
No, but the problem is if he opts for 18%,
He can go for 6%.
but that 6% is to be paid out of pocket, na?
The owner has to pay out of his.
Yes. Suppose if he opts for 18% regular scheme, he may not be having any other income.
Okay.
But suppose if he opts for 18%, he can issue a bill and collect 18%. Suppose if the 100 rupees is rent, he only 94 will be left out with his pocket. Suppose if it is a regular scheme, 100 plus 18, and the 18 will be available to recipient as in input, na? Tax neutral. Okay. Again, it's a charge to P&L account. Sir, it's a very specific case. అంటే ఓనర్కి అభ్యంతరం లేకుండా అతనుకున్న ఏకైక టెనెంట్ ఎగ్జామ్ సప్లైస్ లో ఉంటే మిగతా వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా అలాగే ఉంటే దెన్ అప్పుడు ఓనర్ తను 6% వదులుకుంటానికి. ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నేను ఒక హాస్పిటల్కి ఇస్తున్నాను సార్ రెంట్కి. నేను ఒక రెసిడెన్షియల్ ప్రెమిసెస్ నే హాస్పిటల్కి ఇస్తున్నాను, లేకపోతే నా కమర్షియల్ ప్రెమిసెస్ నే ఒక షాప్కి ఇస్తున్నా. అతనికి ఎగ్జామ్ట్ ఉందో టాక్సిబుల్ ఉందో నాకు సంబంధం లేదు. నాకు వచ్చే రెంట్ 20,000. ఆ 20,000లో 6% నేను ఎందుకు కట్టాలి? Why should I pay? If I take regular registration, I will keep silent because my turnover does not exceed 20 lakhs. I will keep silent. it is his responsibility to discharge the tax under RCM, irrespective of the fact whether credit is available or not. That is his headache. On the other hand, if all our family members, husband is renting the premises to son for running his establishment, and he doesn't want to bother him about, and the son is running with exempt supplies, no credit is available. Instead of churning out 18%, you can influence the landlord to take after for 6% registration, which is a cost benefit of 12%. Definitely. But that depends. We cannot generalize this situation. That depends upon the case to case. In class 2, when you supply your supplies, on which e-commerce operator is required to collect the tax and pay to the government, it's a kind of exempt supply in your hands, or it's a kind of supply on which other party, counterparty is required to collect and pay the taxes on your behalf from the end users, consumers. Okay. This was brought into GSTR 9 now because 3B was amended. GSTR 9 was also amended by inserting clause G1 in table 4 and clause C1 in table 5 to accommodate these two new tables. Because earlier there was no specific column. We need to submit this only in the exempt supplies column. 4B reversals and 4A ITC. You are very much aware that you are required to reverse ITC credit on credit notes received from the suppliers if they issue tax credit notes. I am not speaking with respect to commercial credit notes. Suppose if the tax credit note is received by the recipient, he is required to reverse the ITC component on it. Is there any change in it? Yes. Now it is netting off. Earlier, they used it to pick up those credit note and put in the others column. Now, since 4B2 is having a specific meaning, and whatever you punch the figure in 4B2, it will tantamount to temporary reversal, which will sit in electronic reclaimable reversal, electronic credit reversal and reclaimable ledger. So there is a separate meaning assigned to 4B2. And all the reversals on account of receipt of credit notes from the suppliers need not be separately disclosed. It has to be netted off and only the net figure has to be punched in 4A5, all other ITC. It's clear? And there was another important change happened. A recent circular. Suppose if a taxable person issues a credit note having a GST component, which is a post-sales discount, subject to the satisfaction of conditions of 15 subsection 3B clause 2, it is required for the supplier to ensure that the ITC is promptly reversed by the recipient. How do you know that? All of a sudden, government suddenly brought into a picture up to 5 lakhs. You are required to take a certification from the party. If it is more than 5 lakhs, like 183 circular, a CA certificate is required to be obtained to establish that it's an additional burden. Because if your client has already issued credit notes, subject to satisfaction of section 15, which is GST enabled tax credit notes, which were properly uploaded in GSTR 1 portal B2B. In those cases, you should also have a proper documentation in your hand up to 5 lakhs, confirmations from the suppliers. Even prior to this, companies like Ultratech Cement, like that companies, once you receive credit note, every month you are required to issue a declaration to the company in the online saying that I am reversing, which will act as documentation to the company that the party has declared that he has reversed. If he doesn't reverse, it is the responsibility of the party. They discharge their burden. But that was now brought into picture through a circular, now which is an additional responsibility of the suppliers. Very difficult to obtain. Suppose if it is a CA certificate, it is very, very difficult to issue a certificate by the corresponding CA because it has to be linked with the invoice number. The requirement of the certification as per the circular is the credit note has to be linked with the invoice number. You may be asking a question that, sir, linking of invoice number against which credit note is issued is delinked. Now that details are not required to be punched in GSTR1. That was only delinked in the portal for the sake of clarity and simplicity in filing GSTR1. That was not delinked permanently in the act. So any credit note has to be linked with invoice number. That has to be certified by CA saying that my party client has reversed it. All the credit notes have been reversed. All the tax component and the credit notes have been reversed by the client. And the CA has to certify it if it is only more than 5 lakhs per head per GST. So anyways, not per month. It's for the entire year. Next, ITC reversed. That's a big task. That was a good question because there was no clarity. So suppose if it is 4,90,000, you need to wait for another 10,000 and start making the process, initiating the process. So 4B2, you are very much aware that 4B1, 4B2, because I generally refer to, while I am dealing with table 6, 7 and 8, I generally deal with this terminology. You know that temporary reversal and permanent reversal. What is permanent reversal? You are not going to again reclaim it. Rule 38 banking company, 42, 43 inputs capital goods, 17.5 blocked credits. All these credits you have to route it through all other ITC. Okay. Again, you are required to punch it in 4B1 as reversal. 4B2 only pending invoices. Now, what will be the fate of 4B2 in the light of IMS? Whether I'm required to bring all the invoices and reverse it, or whether I'm only required to make it as pending. Once it is pending, they are only saying that it will not come to 2B. When it will not come to 2B, it will not be included in 4A5. When it is not included in 4A5, what is the question of 4B2? But still there are other areas where 4B2 is required. Say suppose I'm accepting the invoice, but the eligibility of the ITC is not known to me. I have accounted for it in the books, put it in a suspense account. I have written a representation expert to express an opinion whether ITC is eligible or not. During that time, you have to reverse it in 4B2, accept the invoice, bring it to 4A5, and write a representation. Don't take the credit, put it in suspense account, put it in ITC deferred. Then, suppose if the expert says, okay, you are eligible to take credit. In the month in which the opinion comes, you again include it in 4A5. Okay, proper disclosure in 4D1. Okay, because you are experts in IMS, because in the yesterday session, I hope you have taken IMS class. We have done complete line by line analysis of IMS in our office and started doing reconciliation. There are fascinating issues are emerging from IMS. One of the issue is like this: when they have given parking, why again this 4B2? Frequent changes always gives you disclarity and confusion. That's what my opinion. See, law has to be settled. At least portal has to be settled for 3 years or 4 5 years, so that the people or the suppliers will be able to understand. How can you expect a see, if you look at the dashboard of filing of returns, screen was already filled. 1A, 2A, 2B, quarterly view. Okay. Now again, IMS is not finding the place. That's the return. It is put in returns menu. So I hope PTO will come. Please turn over the page or scroll the page. We need to scroll over. We are using 32-inch screens in our office. So to make a proper compliance, I generally purchase computer monitors. 32-inch is not available in Enuru. I only come to Vijayawada and specifically buy 32-inch monitors. That to curved monitors. All my office is equipped. All the monitors, my stock monitors are equipped with curved monitors, because you know that the person who is equipped with the task of 2A 2B reconciliation, Mr. 2A, Mr. 2B, they will not be in the job continuously. They will quit the commerce field itself. So anyways, you please understand 4B1, 4B2, how it is to be reported in table number 6, 7, 8 of GSTR 9. There you are also required to touch 4D1 and 4D2. What is 4D2? Automatic identification of ineligible ITC by the portal itself. What is the best example? So if you stay in the hotel of Karnataka and the Karnataka person charged Karnataka CGST, Karnataka SGST, which was reflected in your 2A, 2B, but the ITC will not be eligible. And it will mark it as not eligible because of the simple reason you are not having registration in that place. Second, 16 for time bar credits. Suppose in the coming month of December, 23-24 invoice was filed by the counterparty. It will mark it as to be, it will contain an entry, it will mark it as ineligible because of the time barring nature of 16.4. And what is amended? GSTR 9. So GSTR 9, there was a new clause. If you look at this clause G1, supplies on which e-commerce operator is required to pay tax. The supplier is required to pay the taxes on the supplies of hotels. Let's say, for example, Zomato is there. It is required to collect a tax at the rate of 5% paid to the government, and the same is to be reported by the e-commerce. It is not by the counterparty. It is by the e-commerce operator, main principal person. Okay. In our example, it is the responsibility of the Swiggy and Zomato to bill this car, not our client hotel. Suppose if Swiggy or Zomato kind of person is your client. So one of see, there is another app there is an app like Swiggy and Zomato, which is operating in Eluru, and the app is designed by my client, where he is required to fill this. Okay. And there was another column C1, supplies on which tax is to be paid by the e-commerce operators as per section 9.5. See, why tax column is blocked? Because suppose if you supply food through Swiggy, Swiggy is liable to pay the tax now. So it is only taxable outward supply in your hands on which tax is paid by the counterparty. So only turnover will be booked in your accounts. See, I'm a hotel. Dine-in charges plus takeaway plus this Swiggy supplies, Zomato supplies. All these put together will be treated as turnover in the hands of counterparty hotel. Okay. So on the supplies affected through aggregator is liable to pay the taxes. I am not liable to pay the taxes, but it is a supply on which tax is payable or which tax is not payable. It's a supply on which tax is not payable because some other counterparty discharges the taxes. It is not my responsibility. So it is to be included in the table 5 because of the simple reason table 5 deals with the supplies on which tax is not paid. Why this is separately included? In order to accommodate table number 3.1.1 of 3B, which just we have witnessed, this one. Okay. Now, every registered person whose turnover is more than 2 crores liable to file GSTR 9, 2 to 5 crores. Even 2 to 5 crores also only GST, up to 2 crores no requirement. 2 to 5 only 9, more than 5, 9C is also applicable. The composition dealer, they have introduced the GSTR 4 after 4 CMP 08. GSTR 4 is introduced, so no question of filing 9A. There was a separate annual return for e-commerce operators collecting TCS, but it is not yet notified, 9B. So for 9 and 9C are not required to be filed. Who is not required to file 9 and 9C? Exemption. Input service distributor, TDS deductor under 51, casual taxable person, non-resident taxable person, central or state government departments, local authorities audited by CADG or other legally appointed auditors. 9A has been removed from the GSTN portal after introduction of 4, and 9B is yet to be notified by the government. This is the parent notification. You tell me one point. What is the present notification which exempts up to 2 crores? 14 bar, second one, 14 bar 2024, which came in the month of July. 10/7/2024, which says that for the financial year 23-24, up to 2 crores, GSTR 9 is exempted. 12/2004 makes an amendment to 9 and 9C. You know that every year they have to add 22, after 22-23, they have to add 23-24 in the instructions. That all the amendments were carried out with effect from 10/7/2024 by notification 12/2024. 20/24. It's a very recent notification. Prior to that, if you look at 30/21, why I'm referring to old notification, 30/21. Rule 80 sub rule 3 amended to enhance 9C aggregate turnover limit to 5 crores. Please make sure that 9 is a year by year process. Every year they need to issue a notification saying that for 22-23 you are not liable to file 9. For 23-24 you are not liable to file 9 up to 2 crores. Suppose in the next year if they don't issue any notification like 14/24 or 12/2024, every person is required to pay 9. Okay. I generally always pray this, they will forget this notification. So our billing could be more. Every person will be required to, but they keep on remembering it and issue notifications. But what about 30/2021? Why every time they are not giving up to 5 crores 9C is not applicable? Because they amended the parent rule itself. No notification is required. Parent rule 80 sub rule 3 itself was amended, and the limit of 9C was enhanced to 5 crores. So every year there is no business of keep on renewing the exemption. But 9 is a renewal, yearly renewal. Exemption to 9 is an yearly renewal. What is 20/24? Recently it came 8/10 and it was enabled in the portal. And from 15th night onwards, the GSTR 9 was open for filing. And even table 8 was aligned with notification number 20/2024. We have already filed 5 GSTR 9s in our office. This amendment in GSTR 9 was very smooth. Now table 8A has been recasted by comparing the ITC of 3B with 2B, not 2A. Previously, which is the biggest change in GSTR 9 of this year, up to 2020-23, right from the beginning of, since inception 17-18, what is there in table number 8 of GSTR 9? Only 2A. The 2A will be redrafted. Suppose if a person files some more invoices in the month of September, again they will run the cycle. In the month of October, again they will run the cycle. Till 30th November, our suppliers, those who are sleepy friendly, those suppliers will keep on posting invoices in one. And they will also do some amendments also. Suppose if the invoice is wrongly fed in B2C, unless they do the amendment, it will not be reflected in 2A. Okay. And the 2A will contain an entry only in the month in which the amendment is happened. Am I right? Till such time, the wrong party will have an entry. Non-designated party will have an entry. So now, up to 22-23, you have a 2A content, which you compare with the 3B content. Now you have 2B content, which you compare with 3B content. What will happen next year? You will have 2B content. Hope 2B is continued. And it will be compared with not IMS, still 3B backed by IMS. Because any 3B entry will have to flow only from IMS. Okay. And the name they have tagged to this process is ease of doing business. I'm searching for the word ease, where it is located. Is that a simple process? Invoice management system, is that a simple process? So, anyways, sir. Sir, in this case, in this year also, 2A will contain always net only, 2B will contain net only, and 3B already they amended in 2022, in the middle of the year 2022-23, credit notes are being netted off against 4A5. Last year, part of the period was there. I will show the slide also. This year, completely credit notes will be netted off in 3B. Now we have punched 4A5, net of credit notes. Do you accept? So the net figure will be compared with the net figure. And suppose if you have taken only credit as per 2B, No scenario of 2A. You strictly, literally follow 2B. And this is going to contain 2B. And table 8 will definitely match. Your life will be easy. But till last time, 2A will have an entry of invoices filed in 22-23 and invoices filed in 22-23 invoices filed in 23-24 till 30th November will be auto picked up by the 2A based on the date of invoice. Wherever the year it occurs, it will pick up all the 22-23 invoices, put it into 8A basket. Now the question of making multiple cycles of running of update of table 8A will not happen because it's a linked with a static figure, not with a dynamic figure. Hope you understand. 10-11 is outward supply, sir, not with respect to inward supplies.
So then 2B data you will take up to March only, sir, in this case, sir.
2B is static now, already fixed in the month of April.
So April to March, sir. They are to
Auto-probability, April to March, 12 2Bs. Simply, yesterday what we have done is, I said 5 GSTR 9s filed by us. We have downloaded multi-month 2B. Multi-month 2B invoices minus multi-month 2B credit notes. That figure, net figure should match with 8A. In all the 5 cases, it exactly matched with Paisa also. But what happened in 2A, sometimes the figure will flow to 2A. It will slowly make its journey to Excel file of 8A. And it will not continue its journey to 8A table. In the meanwhile, it will go somewhere. Whatever the invoices appearing in Excel file will not be reflected in 8A. And the answer is not even known to GSTR. Even network is unable to answer it. I am breaking our head. Why the hell of the reason that some invoices are not being auto-populated 8A? Since because of that non-auto-population of certain valid invoices into 8A will lead to 80 negative difference, which will again giving ASMT 10 notices. Am I right? Next. There are 6 parts, 19 tables in GSTR 9. Actually, even if you are having a nil content, but suppose in 3 months you have exceeded 2 crores, but for the remaining parts of the period, you are not doing any business. And even if you are having a 2 crores turnover or 2.5 crores turnover in one GSTR, you have registration in Tamil Nadu, you have registration in Karnataka, which you have filed with nil returns. Is GSTR 9 applicable only for one GSTR or PAN based? PAN based. Even for all the other GSTRs also you are required to file 9. And if your aggregate turnover crosses, PAN India basis turnover crosses 5 crores, then in such case also you are required to file 9 and 9C, irrespective of the data, irrespective of the fact whether you are filing nil returns or not for the remaining GSTRs. There is a mark. Liabilities identified in the annual return should be paid using DRC03 via cash ledger only. If you look at 9 and 9C, any additional liability to be discharged only with cash, but that doesn't have any legal backing. Nowhere in the act it was stated that any liability in the annual return should be paid only through cash ledger, but you are not required to use or you are not permitted to use electronic credit ledger, which is not having a legal backup in my opinion, because it is there only in the rule. It is there only in the form. Nowhere in the act. Form cannot override statutory provision, you know that. And the late fees was reduced now, up to 5 crores, now it is only 25 rupees. More than 5 crores to 20 crores, 50 rupees. 50 means 50, 50, 20, 20. Okay? And CGST is GST. Above 20 crores, 100 rupees. And the maximum cap is 0.02% of the turnover. And in the second limb is also 0.02%. In the final limb, 0.25%. Okay. And there is another restriction. After 3 years, there is no backdating concept. Effective from October 1, 23, as per Finance Act 23, Section 44(2) now stipulates that the annual return cannot be filed after 3 years from the due date. That means even if you want to use amnesty scheme, it must be within 3 years. Otherwise, portal will not allow you to file the return. Suppose my question is, department gives you a notice, why you have not filed GSTR 9. And already crossed 3 years, I am unable to file it. How to reply in that course? See, only option is we have to voluntarily ask for the department to levy a general penalty of 50,000 for not filing of GSTR 9 because the portal does not allow you to file the GSTR 9 for the backdated cases. That means prior to 3 years. What are the tables in GSTR 9 which is mandatory to be filled by you? I think you can comfortably listen to my class. I will share this table, mandate table, because while writing you may skip some important points. Comfortably you listen to the class. I will share this mandate table, not an issue. Even if you file 20 to 23, there are no much changes in 23-24. Whatever is mandatory for 20 to 23 is mandatory for 23-24. No change. Only content was changed. In some tables, new tables were added. 2A was replaced with 2B. But the mandatory nature of tables and optional nature of tables was still remained same as in 2020 to 23. Is it clear? Now, 4A to 4N, taxable turnover, taxes, all tables mandatory. 5A to 5F, it is an exempt turnover. All tables mandatory, but nil rated can be clubbed with exempt and reported in 5D. But non-GST, no supply to be reported separately in 5F. What is this no supply? Do you find this wording in the enactment statute? Excuse me. Do you find the word in no supply? Have you read the word non-GST supplies in the enactment? It was there in the enactment. What is the best example? Petroleum products. One of the beautiful, simplest audits which we encountered is petrol bunks. It is the only case where inputs will match because there is no input. Only reversals. And it's very convenient because it doesn't have any impact of GST. So, petroleum products, no non-GST, including no supply. What is this no supply? The term no supply is nowhere defined in that. No supply is nothing but sale of building after completion, sale of land, something like that. Okay? Yeah, schedule items. 5H to 5K, credit notes, debit notes, amendments. They stated it is optional, but there is no meaning. Without filling this information, turnover will not be reconciled. 6A to 6O, ITC claims. All tables mandatory except capital goods to be reported separately. It was there in 20 to 23. Input tax has to be broken up. It has to be split into two items. Input services, capital goods. Capital goods to be reported separately. Inputs and input services, if you are comfortable with splitting up, you can go ahead. If not comfortable, then include inputs and input services under which tab? Inputs or input services? No, what I mean to say, inputs credit is 5 rupees. Input services 3 rupees, total 8 rupees. Capital goods 2 rupees, total 10 rupees. Capital goods 2 rupees to be separately reported. What about this 8 rupees? It can be split. Suppose if you are not having that much information, then you can club and simply report 8 rupees under inputs row only, not under input services row. Okay? Yes, sir.
If you are on the service station, you cannot claim refund.
Yes, sir. Because those who want to go for refund route, it is better for them to maintain separate ledgers and promptly disclose all the things. Because for those cases where 54 refunds or something like that is not applicable, in that case you can comfortably club. Okay, for a trading concern where inverted duty structure is not there and refund does not arise. In those cases, you can comfortably club. See, earlier, I'll tell you, in 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, we have filled all the things. See, I'm more passionate. GST is like my DNA. So I'm more passionate to filling all this. See, because I do generally give a lot of lectures. We sat in our office and tried to fill all the tables, whether optional or not. See, even in the case of 17, 18, we have filled inward summary of supplies also, HSN wise, purchases. Second point, table 14. You know, table 14 of GSTR 9C, afternoon faculty will touch it up, which is an optional. It is as good as making your life miserable. All the P&L account has to be bifurcated in table 14. And it was poorly drafted in such a manner, the headings will not match with your ITC clients. That we see in one industry case where it's generally a 10,000 crore company, where we usually, while conducting the audit, we try to fill table 14 because it's a very big listed entity. I don't want to take any choices of options. Two team of cost accountants and their taxation manager took a room in hotel in Eluru and filled table 14. And we prepared everything and we filed a table 14. By that night and day after tomorrow, table 14 was made optional. But in the audit, department comfortably used all the information and asked a lot of queries to us. The persons who did not fill anything did not get any queries. Because of the enthusiasm, we fill everything and we cut. So 1920 onwards, whatever is optional, experience makes you perfect. Okay. Practice makes perfect, but in GST experience makes you perfect, whether woman or men. So, but the problem is whatever is optional, we want to use all the options. Whatever is optional, blindly you. My staff sometimes, sir, this is a service, sir. It is clearly available now. Why don't you put in input? No, 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 no. Club everything in inputs and input services. Put in input service. Otherwise, there are only few capital goods. We only brought everything to the notice of the department. Department comfortably said, these are the capital goods ITC. You bring all the invoices, copies, and reconcile this figure. Out of the total ITC, what is the capital goods ITC? If everything is clubbed, then there is no issue. In my opinion, most of the people are not even separating capital goods. Okay, we may or may not accept that fact in front of the session, but most of the people are not interested in breaking this ITC and capital goods. They're putting everything in inputs row only. Even the department is also accustomed to see whatever you fill there. Again, I am going to ask all the information if the audit is called for. You know you know how they bring oil from the sand in the case of Section 65 audits. Okay. Yes, yes. See, that's a nightmare in 3CD. Okay. Till this time, that was also same thing. In the very beginning, we want to fill that particular class 44. I have taken 4 sessions in 4 parts of the state. So I just want to fill 44, class 44. And the accountant started saying, sir, everybody is giving a disclaimer. Why you make our life miserable? So they only ask us to give a disclaimer, sir. Sir, there was an exemption, or some people are saying that there was a disclaimer. Why don't you put the disclaimer, making our life miserable, asking all the breakup? So 7A to 7H ITC reversal. Tran 1, Tran 2 is not there. But we will deal with 7H in a very prompt manner. 6A to 6O ITC claims, all tables mandatory except capital goods. Now 8A to 8K. Sir, can we take option of table 8? There is no option, it is mandatory. That is the only revenue channel to the department. Do you know that department is interested in table 8D? That's the only table department is interested. One more table is there. Can you tell me? There are 2 tables from which lot of ASMT notices have been emanating, have already emanated, and are going to emanate. Excellent, sir. Table number 9 of GSTR 9. The difference between tax payable and tax payable. If it is more tax paid, they don't ask you. Only when there is a shortfall, they will put a question to you. And the second question is table number 8. 8D negative figure. 8D negative figure. I think you have already received a lot of notices, even though there is no problem. I'll tell you why it has happened. Because of the non-syncing of data between 3B mechanism and GSTR 8 mechanism, table 7 and table 8 mechanism. There is a difference between expectations of 3B table and the actual result of GSTR 9. Okay, because they keep on started amending GSTR 3B, but they did not make such changes in GSTR 9. Okay. 9 tax payable paid. Tax payable is editable. Paid is not editable. Payable is editable. Payable is editable only in the anticipation and expectation from you. Upward revision is possible. Okay. So 10, 11, and 14. This is completely spillovers. What is spillover? Spillover is the backbone of GST. See, in a case, for example, it's a trading case, and you are having 50 vendors. While looking at the data, 2A is matching, 2B is matching, outward supplies are matching, no spillovers. Definitely you have to be cautious in that case. If spillovers are there, 2A is not matching, 2B is not matching, 1 versus 3B, some issues are there. That's a very fair case. Very good case. Fit for comfortable signing. If everything matches in CA examination, if an easy question comes to you, our mind starts thinking in a negative way. Is this the question of standard of CA? Something is there. We will write a wrong answer. But it's a simple question. So, 10, 11, 14, 23, 24 transactions declared in 24, 25. It is mandatory. 14 is with respect to discharge of taxes, that is mandatory. 12 and 13. ITC of financial year 23-24 availed or reversed in the next year. What is the time limit available to you to claim ITC? I'll ask you a question. What is the time limit available to you to claim ITC of 17-18? 17-18. Of course, I know that time 17-18 is not the scenario of present current year. But I'm asking you, there was an audit going on. What is the time limit available to you to claim ITC of 17-18 spillover? Up to what time you can claim the credit? 30th November of 21. See, they only stated that 17-18 up to 31st March 2019. In 1920, we have two problems. In 2021, 1920, we have two problems. What are those problems? Two big problems. One is Corona, bigger than that is 2A. Am I right? 1920, 2021, first time they introduced 2B. Whatever they want to introduce, they only introduce in the middle of the month. 13th night, 14th morning, 15th January onwards. I'm unable to find. I just searching. Is there any specific provision fairly starting on 1st April? No. All see, look at the recent notification on RCM. Why don't you start it on 1st October?
They will like us from January 1st. How it will be?
Huh?
They will like us from January 25th.
No, they issued an advisory till 4 o'clock. But 5 o'clock, they revised an advisory saying that we are going to lock only hard locking of output supplies, hard locking of ITC. It is the kind of advisory they have given till 4 o'clock. They have opened the advisory on 3 o'clock. Okay. Before I am going to lunch, already lunch is late. They said hard locking, hunger gone. So after hard locking, they again మళ్ళీ వాళ్ళు వెంటనే చాలా చాలా చిన్న నాకు తెలిసి ఒక 2-3 గంటల్లో వాళ్ళ మైండ్ సెట్ మార్చుకున్నారు. And they suddenly started saying that no, I have input tax credit we are not going to lock. We will take IMS feedback and other issues. Okay. And then after consultation with the trade and industry and this IMS is streamlined, then only they are going to lock a hard lock of ITC figures. So they want to bring that GSTR 1, 2, 3 in some other old fashion. Am I right? They are again bringing that 1, 2, 3 proposed. They proposed, got disposed. But again they want to propose it. You see what will happen, the amendment that is going to take place in the enactment to nullify the judgment of Safari retreat. Look at the budget next year. Wait for the answer. They will move on to Supreme Court. Okay. Now the question is whether eligible credit is there or not is not the question. Whether building is a plant or not. See, once you straight away, see, if you carefully start reading the process of GST, you may be having a doubt whether it is a mobile or a calculator. Whether building is a plant, Whether bottle is a machinery, you will start getting all these doubts. Whether building is a plant, you prove whether building is a plant, then I will give you the credit. Sir, credit available. Only when you prove. See, this time, Honorable Supreme Court beautifully worded. They asked the department saying that you have constitutionally validly drafted 17.5, you have your rights, you are correct. And they asked the party, you are validly asking ITC credit, you prove your building as a plant, I will give you the credit. Win-win situation, no answer, both answers. All the questions have been answered, but no clarity. But with great respect to Supreme Court, we are not in any position to make any derogatory comment on the court judgment. With great honor to Supreme Court. Now again, the matter will come again as a litigation in the point that the Safari Retreat now wants to prove it as a building as a plant. That was remanded back to Orissa High Court. So 15, 16, 12, 13 optional, but if you don't fill 12, 13, GSTR 9C will be impacted. Table 12 of GSTR 9C will be impacted. So it is always better to fill 12, 13. And 15, 16, 18 optional, nobody is making this filling. Only 17 HSN outward is compulsory, not compulsory. It is compulsory, but there is a limit. Up to 5 crores only 4 digit. More than 5 crores 6 digit. Up to 5 crores only B2B. More than 5 crores all transactions, okay, have to be linked with HSN, and proper HSN data of outward supplies has to be filled in table number 17.